Welcome, my name is Dawn Hayes. Please start your practice on your back. You can lie on a blanket with your knees bent and the soles of your feet on the floor.
Take a couple moments to check in, to drop in. And my teacher oftentimes says the first thing to do is to not do. And so as you observe, perhaps a tendency to want to adjust or fix something, or perhaps the need or the want to get moving, to get started right away. What do you notice when you take a pause? I personally think of the pause as having a capital P, like a place or a pronoun. And for me, the pause, it can be a challenging place to be, but it can also offer insight. And sometimes it offers me ease. What does the pause offer you today? Does it offer challenge or support, or some combination of both? As you find yourself in a pause, in a sense, we are in the pause between your work and your responsibilities today and the time that you spent moving and connecting to your body. And my hope is that these movements that connect you to your body on your mat and the link that you build while you're here today goes with you as you go back into your work and your responsibilities today. So as you start your movements, bring your arms out to the sides at shoulder height and pause there for just a moment. And really spread your fingers wide. So you're opening your palms as wide as you can, stretching fingers long and stretching fingers wide. And then make a fist with your hands, curling your fingers in towards your center of your palm, but also lift your fist off the floor as if it was possible to bring it to touch your forearm. You'll feel the back of your wrist start to extend a bit. And do the opposite. Go back to the spreading wide of the fingers, seeing if you can bring the tip of each finger or the fingernail of each finger to touch the floor really wide. Curl the fingers back in towards a fist. This time, tuck your thumbs underneath your fingers and curl your fingers up towards your forearm. And you can pause there. Then this time, linger there and spin the pinky side of your hand down towards the floor. And then spin the thumb side of your hand down towards the floor, keeping the fist curled in towards your forearm. And you can try that a few times, especially if you've been doing a lot of time on the computer today. This might feel a little stiff or a little tender. And then go back to the open palm position, but this time bring the palms to the floor and check in with what that feels like. Now, keeping your fingers extended, can you lift the wrist part of your hand up towards the floor and have your middle finger on the floor, still trying to fold your fingers in towards your forearm, and then stretch the palms to the floor. Now, can you keep your forearm on the floor and lift your palm away from the earth, as if you were so bendy through the wrist that the middle finger could come up and over and touch the back of your forearm? And try that a few times, lifting. Arms will come a bit off the floor as middle fingers tuck underneath you. And then do the opposite, forearms back to the floor and middle fingers try to lift up towards the forearm. And pause that for a moment. Bring arms wherever it's comfortable. So they could be palms up or down. Take feet as wide as sticky mat. tip both knees to right like windshield wipers. Exhale, return to center. Inhale, tip both knees to left. Exhale, return to center. And do this a couple times side to side. As you feel into this spinning movement of the legs, checking in with what you notice. Now, the next time you look at your hand, you can turn head opposite of the knees as you move. And the next time you look at your hand, really spin the fingers wide, opening up in that really extended reach of the hand, of the fingers. The next time you look at one hand, pause on that side for a moment. As you spread the fingers wide, press your thumb into the floor with the palm turned up towards the ceiling. Press the thumb into the floor and start to lift the pinky finger side of your arm up towards the ceiling as the thumb stays on the floor. And then perhaps spin a little bit so the pinky finger flips over the thumb and the palm starts to wrap towards the floor. It's a big shoulder move. And then spin back to center with hand, with knees. Do the same thing on the other side. Thumb presses into the earth. As you keep pressing thumb into the earth, lift the pinky side of your hand and arm up and over the thumb side so it starts to move towards the crown of your head in a way, that direction. And then do that side to side. Knees will tip opposite of the arm that you're looking at. The pinky side of the hand will flip over the thumb side of the hand. If you're confused, don't worry about it, just make it up. Any movement you explore here with your shoulder will be something that will be of value here to you. And sometimes the direction our body heads naturally is what it is feeling inclined towards. And that can be a really beneficial exploration here. So as you continue this spiral pattern, go ahead and observe, checking in, how it might feel or turn a little differently from side to side. Maybe one shoulder turns easier or you feel the sensation in a different place. Next time you come back to the center, pause there for a moment. Interlace your fingers behind the back of your head. And as you inhale, slide your upper back to the right like a hammerhead shark and tip your knees to the left. Exhale, return both knees and head to center and do the opposite. Slide your upper back and head to the left, knees to right. And do this a few times side to side. As you explore movement here, inviting this to feel fluid, like you're in a tide pool. And just as the tide moves you, so does your body. Almost like part of the movement is coming from within you, and part of the movement is coming from around you. And next time you're in the center, pause there. Exhale, lift upper back off the floor, scoop tailbone towards your knees and curl like you're doing a little old-fashioned sit-up. Inhale, lower back to the earth, elbows wide, tailbone dips into the floor. And do this a couple more times. Exhale, scoop and lift. Inhale, lower down, elbows to the earth, ribs arc a bit up towards the ceiling. As you keep going, find the sense of engagement from the front to lift you up, and engagement from the back as you arc your ribs up towards the sky. The next time you lift, twist both elbows towards one of your hips. Swoosh to the other side, and then lower down to the center. And try the other side. Lift both elbows towards the one side, swoosh to the other side, and lower down. Each time you lift up, the side you come down is the side you lift up. So you're doing a circle with your movement. And each time you lift up into your circle, you change the direction of the circle. And then next time you finish the one you're on, pause and release your arms by your sides, straighten your legs, and check in. Notice what you feel. Coming back to the pause. And then whenever you're ready, bend your knees, set soles of feet on the floor, and slowly roll to one side and come up to table position. Now, as you come up to the table, you might find it helpful to have blanket under your knees. And if you would like today, you can go ahead and have your blocks nearby. We're going to use them as we come into some of the leg stuff. With hands on the floor or your blocks, tuck your chin to your chest and round your upper back up towards the sky like a Halloween cat. Inhale, arc your belly towards the floor, looking up as you press your hands into the earth. And try that a couple times. Hands press down, tail scoops, back rounds. Inhale, navel towards floor, heart moves forward and up, looking towards the ceiling. Then next time you come into neutral, pause there for a moment. Tuck your toes under and lift into downward facing dog. Now lift and lower your heels both at the same time. So you're casting sit bones, heels up towards ceiling, pressing heels and sit bones back towards earth. As you try that a few times, feeling into feet and ankles, I find it helpful to really grip big toes into the floor. So feel free to make a fist with your feet as you lift and lower your heels a few times. Inhale, reach your right leg up towards the ceiling and make some circles with your right foot and ankle. Go the other direction. On your exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Here's where it might be helpful to have your blocks under your hands. Start in the lunge, pushing through the front foot. And inhale, slowly straighten your right leg. Now bend your right knee and come back to the lunge. And now slowly straighten your right leg. We're moving towards straight, tucking chin to chest. Bend your front knee, come into the lunge. Slowly pulse here from a straight leg to a bent knee. And notice how this feels in that front leg. And check in. What does your breath feel like now? And how do you naturally find it helpful to pair the breath and the movement? And next time you're in the lunge position, pause there. Take your blocks and you can set them to the side as you step back into the downward facing dog. And from your down dog, lift and lower your heels a few times like you did previously. And notice how one leg might feel different than the other. Inhale, reach left leg up towards the ceiling. Make some circles with your foot, with your ankle. Go both directions. On your exhale, step left foot forward. You can have blocks under the hands here. As you push into your front foot, slowly straighten your front leg. Bend your front knee. Now pulse that with your breath a few times. So you're moving into a lunge and into a straight-ish front leg. The closer you bring your torso to that front leg, And the closer the hands are to the floor, the more this will be a hamstring experience. So if your hamstring is wanting a little less intensity today, add more height under your hands and or bend your knee a little bit more instead of going quite as straight. And as you find this pulse, as you find this rhythm, checking in with a grip of your big toes into the floor, with the position of your torso. And when you're ready, come back to the lunge and step into downward facing dog. In your downward facing dog, pause for a moment, lift and lower both heels, noticing feet, ankles. With both heels lifted, slide your blanket off to the side and walk your hands to meet your feet. And take really small steps with your hands. As your hands walk towards your feet, notice how your shoulders move, how your spine moves, and keep walking yourself back. Now walk your hands out away from you back into the downward facing dog. Again, take small steps. So you're feeling your arms and shoulders take more of the weight as they come farther in front of you. From your down dog, walk your hands back to your feet, again, taking these small steps. And just notice, where are you looking? And is that helping you? Do you have another option? What happens if you look to your hands? How does that feel on your neck? And what happens if you look on your feet? How does that feel on your neck? Now, the next time you walk your hands forward, go really slowly again, but walk yourself into the plank pose. Now, my suggestion as you come towards the plank pose is to look a little bit more towards your thumbs or between your hands. And as you come into the plank, hold there, pushing the floor away from you. Shoot your heels towards the wall behind you. Really feeling that sense of length through the legs. Really pushing the floor away from you. And as you hold here for another 30 seconds, check in. What does it ask of you from shoulders, from upper back, to try to pull the hands towards your feet? And at the same time, try to pull your feet towards your hands. Almost like the walking, but you're unsuccessfully moving them. Instead, lots of other things in your body activate to create that intended action. When you're ready, straight legs or knees to the floor, chaturanga, slowly lower down for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. As you come into the cobra, slide your forearms in front of your chest and rest your forehead on your hands. Press through the legs and press through your forearms as you inhale and lift your chest into a little back bend. As you come into this back bend shape, root through your tail like a cobra. And on your exhale, lower back towards the earth. This time, lift your forearms off the floor as you lift your chest and head. So head rest in your hands. Inhale, lift your legs, so legs lift as well. Now lift your chest and lift your forearms with your forehead resting on your hands. What does it feel like to create this lift of really trying to bring elbows towards ceiling? Exhale, lower down. Pause, take an extra breath as you're on the earth, and check in with what you're noticing. Then take hands behind your head. So interlace the fingers. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your legs. Can you push your head up into your hands and root your hands into the back of the head, just enough to create a little strength without any strain. Exhale, lower back to the floor. Inhale, hands under shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your down dog, walk your feet to meet your hands. You can take big steps this time. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Push through your feet. Inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. And pause, take a breath for nothing. Notice what it feels like to come up to your feet and check in with your breath. Inhale, sweep your arms out to the sides. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And then grab either your blocks or your canned goods and set them near the top of your mat and step back into downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward into the plank position. Exhale, slow motion chaturanga coming to the floor. Once you're on the earth, have a block or your canned good in your hand. You might start with a block and then decide if you want to go heavier. And take the block, so it's in your palm, and the block is next to your left leg and hip. And then as you root your legs, keep them strong. Inhale, sweep the left arm out to the side and bring the arm and the block by your ear. And exhale, lower it back by your side. Now we're going to do that again. Inhale, this time lift your chest, sweep your arm by your ear. And exhale, sweep the block down and then behind your back, almost like you're going to use your block to scratch in between your shoulder blades. Then, if you like, you can stay with the block, or you can switch it out and you can use your canned good, which is going to weigh a little bit more than your block. Inhale, lift your chest, maybe both legs lift as well. Arm out to the side, up by the ear, and then sweep your arm down by your side and behind your back, staying lifted in the chest. Repeat that a few times. Could you stay in the back bend and do this circular movement with your arm, either with the weight or without, depending on what your shoulder feels is best today. Then the next time your arm is by your side, we'll switch arms. I'm going to turn so you can see my arm, but you can stay as you are. As you did before, start either with block in hand, or you can start with an empty hand. Inhale, lift your chest, lift your legs, sweep the block out to the side, rotate it as it comes by your ear, and then sweep it back by your side. You could lower down. Lift again. Inhale, arm reaches out to the side, up by the ear. And then this time, see how it feels to slide the arm behind your back, as if you were going to use your block to scratch in between your shoulder blades. Do this maybe one more time with a block. And if you would like to, you could switch to using the canned good. If you have a 2-pound weight, that would work well in addition. When you're ready, could you stay in the back bend shape and sweep your arm around and up a couple times? Feeling that circular movement and noticing if one arm is a little stronger than the other today, or in general. Chances are your dominant arm is going to find this movement a little bit easier than your non-dominant arm. When you're ready, release back to the earth and come into the downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, inhale, reach your right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Now you can have your left hand on the floor, Or you could take it onto one of your canned goods if you have two. Take your other canned good or block in your right hand and twist your right shoulder over your left, lifting the arm with your can up towards the ceiling. Now on your exhale, spin the arm forward and the chest towards the floor, turning the can towards the earth. Sweep it up and back behind you and do this a couple times. So you're making a circular movement with the arm, kind of like you're swimming. The chest will turn down. When the arm comes up, your chest will turn to the side. At some point in this pattern, change directions so the arm goes up, back, and down, almost like you're doing the backstroke. And sense into the movement of the shoulder in relationship to your spine and ribs. Then step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, come forward into plank. Exhale, chaturanga, or any combination of movement and stillness. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll do the other side. Inhale, left leg reaches for the sky. Exhale, step forward. Again, you could use blocks or the cans. Cans generally a little heavier than blocks. Take right hand on some sort of lift or support. Pick up your can with your left hand and sweep the arm up towards the ceiling. Now swim it forward in space. Turn your chest to the floor. Sweep the can along the mat. Reach it up back behind you and keep going. Finding this smooth, slow, circular action. You're feeling the strength that is required to lift something moderately heavy. Now, chances are you lift a lot heavier things every day, especially if you've got kids, but you probably don't swing your kid around in a circle like this. So how does it feel to swing your arm in space like you're swimming? And as you feel that circular pattern, it's not just the shoulder that's doing the circle, it's your whole upper body. So your ribs and your spine are also turning. If you haven't changed directions yet, make sure you do that. So get the backstroke and the front stroke. And then next time the hand comes to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale into plank. On exhale, chaturanga or knees, chest, and chin, or some combination of stillness and movement that helps you feel connected. From your downward facing dog, inhale, lift your heels, look forward. Exhale, step or hop your feet to meet your hands. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. Optional, you can pick up your two canned goods. If you have one, you might do like switch them back and forth between your hands. But if you want to add some more shoulder focus to your practice today, you can. Inhale, chair pose. Reach your arms up. Sit your legs low. Exhale, return to standing. Arms down and out. Repeat. As you repeat this, moving at the pace of your breath, go slow enough that you can feel how when your arms are overhead, it's a bit more challenging to lift that weight up. For the next couple rounds, experiment with your arms moving forward instead of out to the sides. And how does that work your shoulders differently today? Notice your breath. Chances are this will challenge your breath and it'll start to get raspy or ragged. Now, if you like, you can keep your cans with you. Inhale into the chair. Exhale, arms out to the sides. Pause and go a little lower. Hands, cans to the floor, folding forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa or any combination of stillness and movement. This could be a good opportunity to do cat-cow, a chance to do chaturanga, or something else that feels good to you. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, reach your right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step right foot forward. If you want, pick up your cans. Inhale, reach your arms up towards the ceiling. Now this time, pretend like you're doing the lat pull down machine at the gym. And as you exhale, hover your back knee towards the floor and pull your elbows down and back. Inhale, lift your arms up. I'll turn to the front so you can see that. Exhale, elbows down and back knee hovers towards the floor. Inhale, lift up. Let's do 4 more for a total of 6. 4, 3, moving with your breath. 2, and 1. Could you hover your back knee low? And maybe without your hands coming to the floor just yet, slowly bring your knee to the earth. And hands follow, downward facing dog. Inhale, plank, and pause for a moment, check in. If you have your cans right in front of your hands, great. If you don't, set them there. So if you want, bring your knees down. You can do this knees first. Right hand on the floor, tap can with left hand. Switch. Then, if you like, do it in the plank. So each time you lift a hand, you tap the can and switch weight into one hand instead of the other. Then when you're ready, back to downward facing dog. We'll do the left side. Inhale, left leg reaches for the sky. Exhale, step forward. Optional, pick up your cans. Arms up for the ceiling. Exhale, hover back knee to floor in high lunge. Inhale, reach arms up, reach high. Exhale, hover back knee, elbows and cans move down and in. Inhale, reach up. Again, it's almost like you're doing the lat pull down at the gym. What are you noticing on this side as you do your last 3? How is it different than the other side? And what's going on with your breath? So on this last one, pause. Slowly lower your back knee to the floor. Hands down, downward facing dog. Again, we're going to do a little dance with the cans. So this time, bring them so they're on their flat side. Again, you could do this with blocks instead. Now, as they're on their flat side, you can take hands wider than the cans. You can do this with knees down or knees up, depending on how shoulders are feeling. Now take one hand, walk it between the cans. Take the hand on the outside and take it farther, and then take the inside hand out, and then walk back across. So your feet will stay in the same place, but your hands will walk over your cans. As you can tell in my breath, this is not an easy move. And I got a request from someone at the climbing gym that they wanted some shoulder stuff. So I hope you all are okay with this. When you're ready, lift your heels, come back to down dog, step or hop your feet to meet your hands. Push into your feet, inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold, chin to chest. Now this time, you could use your cans here as well. We're gonna roll up one vertebrae at a time, keeping a really curled in shape with the spine. And you can either do this with the weight in your hands or without. Keep chin to chest. push into your feet, and from the base of your tail, start to feel a gradual lifting. This will take you at least 3 to 5 breaths to come all the way up to top. With the weight in your arms, you're going to add some traction to your shoulders. And if it feels good, you can kind of hang your arms like ropes and maybe even turn your arms internally and externally, lingering in any spots that feel good. Maybe you lift a little higher and then start that swinging again. So as you're swinging, you might even start to make some like less symmetrical, more organic shape here. And feel how with your shoulders and your upper back at different heights, it impacts what you're feeling differently. So keep curling tail in and down. Keep curling chin in towards chest until eventually you come up to standing and you lift your front of your spine long. And then if you like, you can keep the cans in your hands, and as you push into your feet, tip a little to one side, come back to center, side bend to the other side, come back to center. Try that a couple times. I'll do this with a sandbag, which weighs more like 10 pounds, but chances are y'all don't have one of those at home. So as you find your breath and you go a little side to side here, the next time you lean to one side, pause there, try turning your head to look towards the floor. And the side you're moving away from, can you let that arm hang a little longer? And slowly come back to neutral. And do the other side. Side bend a little bit to the other side. Now, the side you're moving away from, slowly turn and look towards the floor on that side. And then really focus on the outer crescent part, that arm getting heavy, letting the can hang and traction side of neck. And then come back to center. When you're ready, turn back to the top of your mat, set your cans down to the floor. Inhale, sweep your arms up, reach for the sky. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. Notice what you're feeling now that they're not carrying the weight of the cans. Inhale, lift halfway, look forward. And exhale back to downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa or some combination of stillness and movement. Honoring your body here today and moving in a way that feels good to you. If you liked our, walking over the cans, push-ups today, or something that we did, the tapping of the can, go ahead and do that. We'll meet in downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, warrior two. Step your right foot forward, ground your back heel, pick up your cans or your blocks, and inhale, reach your arms out to the sides. Now, have your cans in your hand and lower your arms down, staying low in the legs. Now, lift your arms up, reaching for the sky. And do that with the elbows bent this time. Notice with elbows bent, how that feels different than with arms straight. And find yourself somewhere in between those two, straight and bent. The next time your arms are up, pause there. Tip your right forearm to your right thigh. Optional, keep the left hand holding the can, or you can set it to the floor. Pause here for a moment. What would it be like if you kept your left arm extended, the top arm overhead, and you hovered your bottom arm in space, staying with the torso leaning over that front leg? Could you hold that for another breath or two? And on your exhale, windmill back to the floor. You could even keep your hands on your cans and come back to downward facing dog. It's going to make it a little wobbly, which might be an interesting thing for your shoulders to explore. Inhale into the plank position. It also might give your wrists a little bit of a break because you have a little something more to grip. From here, if you want, push down into the hands and inhale into up dog with your toes tucked under like chaturanga, and exhale back to down dog. Let's try that again. Inhale, plank with the hands on the cans. Chest lifts, hips towards the cans, legs strong. Exhale, downward facing dog. Optional, you can do that 1 or 2 more times and experiment with turning your head to one side. If it feels better to keep head in center, please do so. Next time you're in the down dog, we'll do the warrior 2 on second side. Inhale, left leg up towards the ceiling. Exhale, step forward, left foot between hands. Ground your right heel. Inhale, warrior 2. Now in your warrior 2, you can lift and lower your arms a few times, going slow. Noticing how curling the elbows in and making the arms shorter makes it a little easier in some ways, and just different in other ways. Noticing what it's like to give your arms a little extra focus today. The next time you reach your arms up for the ceiling, tip your front forearm to the bent leg and reach the straight arm up overhead. Now again, you could always set your can to the floor and do this without. As you reach with that top arm, what do you notice? What's most obvious in this moment? And how does that change when you unhook your left elbow from the front thigh and hang the arm in space? As you hold there for maybe a breath or 2, find steadiness, find strength, and exhale, cans to the floor. Again, you've got them kind of like you would a barbell or something if you're gonna do some stuff for your wrists. Optional, come into the plank position, pushing down. Inhale, upward facing dog with your toes tucked under. Exhale, downward facing dog. Maybe you'd like to repeat that a few more times. Inhale to plank. Exhale to upward facing dog. And back to downward facing dog. When you're ready, you can take your hands off your cans carefully and walk your hands slowly to meet your feet. Again, very small steps like you did at the beginning of practice. Notice what that feels like in your shoulders now. And fold forward over your legs. This time, interlace your fingers behind you and stretch arms up and back overhead. Here's where that strap or scarf could be really helpful. Nod your head yes. Shake your head no. You can make a figure 8 with your head. Go the other direction. When you're ready, hands back to the earth. Turn your heels in, your toes out, and come into a malasana, a squatting position. You can take hands to heart as you pause and check it. Now, taking the pause can happen in really supported positions like Shavasana, as we did at the beginning. Or taking the pause can happen in slightly more challenging positions, like chair pose or Malasana. Now, if your knees, ankles give you permission today, walk your feet forward in a squatting leg position. And then once you get to the top of your mat, you might find it helpful to have your cans or your blocks. We're going to put them underneath the hands. So if you want something more stable, definitely use blocks. So you could have them behind you like this, like a shelf. If you want something just a little bit wobbly, but also with that rounded shape for the wrists, you can do it like this. And then as long as they feel stable to you, push into your hands, lift your chest, and then push into your feet. And can you lift your buttocks off the floor? Now, if the hands don't feel stable under your wrist, please do hands on floor or blocks. Lower back down and repeat. Push into your feet, push into your hands, lift up. And you can change the position of your hands. Sometimes it feels better to have the knuckles towards your heels, although that might feel a little wobbly on your cans. And sometimes it feels better to have knuckles out to the sides of your mat. That's the first way I did it. That works best for my shoulders. You can check in as it feels good to you. Notice how this asks for great width across your collarbones. And for the last one, we're going to hold it, and you can either stay with the legs bent, or if you want to do a little bit more challenge, take your legs straight. Again, you could have hands on blocks. Push into the support and lift up and breathe by pushing down into the floor through both hands and feet. Can you engage your buttocks and the hamstrings to lift your hips a little bit higher? And then when you're ready, lower your hips back to the floor. Have your strap somewhere nearby. So if you don't have it, grab it. And lower back to the floor. And then pause for a moment, one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, and check in. Then grab hold of your strap. So you're going to take your scarf or whatever you're using underneath your buttocks. So you can even kind of sit on it, that would be fine. And take it into your hands. So your hands are about shoulder distance apart, but you're pulling on the strap. Then have your palms turned towards the floor as you hold your strap. So thumbs will be closer to your outer hips. Push into your feet and lift into bridge pose. And as you lift into bridge pose, pull wide on your strap with your hands or your scarf or whatever you're using. And focus on the pulling wide and what this does to the shoulders instead of tucking your shoulders underneath you. I know oftentimes we tuck shoulders under today, but let's do it a little differently this time. So really pull wide with the arms and check in. What does it feel like? What happens if you take the hands wider apart and pull? What happens if you bring the hands closer together and pull wide? And check in with what that feels like for you. Then what happens when you have hands either shoulder distance or a little bit more narrow? And as you pull wide, you bend your elbows. The elbows will stay on the floor, but your strap will start to come towards your buttock. Could you switch now the hand position so your palms are turned up towards the sky, and it's almost like you're creating a little sling for your buttocks, and you'll pull up with your hands so that your buttocks gets a little bit of a support from the strap. So the legs may not work as much now that you have the sling here, but your hands are creating a little bit of a pulling up, and the architecture of your bones is creating a little bit of support. Now, would it be possible to walk your feet in a little bit and push up and off the strap? As you push up and off the strap, it might stay near you still, but you're no longer hanging out on it. Then lower hips back into strap, pulling up with the hands, and repeat, lifting hips up off the strap. Really emphasize the push in your feet, and slowly set strap to side, lower to the earth, and pause. Take one hand to heart and one hand to belly, and give yourself a few moments to check in. When you're ready, take your arms out to the sides like wings And do the windshield wipers a few times. You might have to move your cans out of the way. Checking in with what it feels like to move softly and slowly again. And to return to a movement that we did a little earlier in the practice. The next time knees tip to one side, pause there for a couple seconds. Lift back to center, tip to the other side. Return to center and bring your knees up for your shoulders for your side ribs. And you're going to have your feet near one another. So big toes will touch, but your knees will be a little wider than your shoulders and your ribs. Then reach your hands up and grab wherever it's easy to grab with your head still on the floor. And now scoop your tailbone a little towards your heels. So you feel a tiny bit of engagement through your low belly and the torso. Now, without doing it one part at a time, so as much as is possible, imagine that your right shoulder is tied together with your right hip. And you're going to roll a little to the left with your right shoulder and right hip lifting off the floor at the same time. Now, don't let yourself fall onto the left. Instead, keep pulled in towards your center and slowly lean back to center. Now, tilt to the other side. So it's not a twist, it's a tilt. And as you tip a little over, stay tightly drawn in so you don't fall over onto one side. You hover off the floor. Now you could imagine here that you're like 3 logs. You have one log is your spine. Another is your right shoulder and right hip. And the second or the third one is your left shoulder and your left hip. And the log in the center stays in the center, and the right and the left sides will stay connected to that center one and roll over it. Feeling your breath. So this is a core strengthening move. It's asking you to really dig deep, not into the superficial abs, not your six pack, but deep into what supports you from the center, which is a place of great strength. And in the yoga tradition, there's all sorts of ideas and philosophies around how the core, the center, is a key element of our awakening through the Sushumna, the central channel, and through Kundalini, if you've heard those terms before. The next time you're in the center, unravel arms and legs and set up for Shavasana. As you come to rest in Shavasana, take a moment to drop your bones. And if it would be helpful here, I recommend doing the calves on the chair or the legs up the wall, if you have space. Calves on the chair could also be like calves on your couch. Just as we began, invite the pause, where you are undoing or not doing. And in the pause, come to that space of noticing. of listening. Softening your senses. Softening the senses that travel outward into the world, but also softening your senses that travel inward, and invite the pause. Very gradually wiggle your fingers and your toes. Bend your knees and roll to one side. And pause there for a few moments. As you're ready, push your hands into the earth and lift up to seated. You can take palms together in front of your heart and take a moment to sense inward and come back to the pause and set an intention to bring your mindfulness of body and movement with you as you head into your responsibilities and relationships. As you head into your responsibility and relationships in your life and in the world, have that foundation of inner listening and inner connection within yourself be a support for you. Make a little bow forward, honoring yourself and each other. I thank you for joining us in practice today. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.